Hello students, I am teacher Svetlana and in our today's lecture we will learn about composition of urine which is covered in the chapter excretion and osmoregulation. So let's begin. Composition of urine. Students, normal urine is pale yellow colored transparent liquid. This color is due to pigment urochrome. Composition of urine depends upon food and fluid consumed by the individual. Have a look at this image here. It gives you a breakup of the components that are present in the urine of a adult individual. So average urine volume per day for an adult is 1.4 liters and this is the typical contents that are present in the urine. Students, there are ways to find out what would determine the composition of urine. Well, yes, let us find out how. There are two ways. One, by regulating water reabsorption through ADH, and that is the antidiuretic hormone, and other by the electron reabsorptions through the RAS. That is by the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. Students, the hypothalamus in the midbrain has special receptors called as osmoreceptors. Have a look at this image here. This is the location of your hypothalamus. Below it is the pituitary gland. They can detect changes in osmolarity, measure of the total number of dissolved particles per liter of the solution. This is called as osmoregularity. So they can detect changes in osmolarity of the blood. If osmoregularity of blood increases due to any reason, such as after eating salty or due to salty food or due to sweating, in other words, due to loss of water from the body, osmoreceptors trigger release of the antidiuretic hormone, that is ADH, from the neurohypophysis, that is the posterior pituitary. Have a look at this image here. This is the location of the hypothalamus. Below it is the pituitary gland. Here it is magnified for you. This particular region is called as the posterior pituitary gland, from where the hormone ADH will be released. ADH stimulates reabsorption of water from the last part of the DCT, that is the distal convoluted tubule, and the entire collecting duct by increasing the permeability of the cell. So in other words, this antidiuretic hormone allows the cells to by increasing its permeability to reabsorb maximum amount of water, where from the distal convoluted tubule, that is at the end of your nephrons and towards the end, and the entire collecting duct, from there maximum water to be reabsorbed. So this leads to reduction in urine volume and decreases the osmolarity of the blood. Now, once the osmolarity of the blood comes to normal, activity of the osmoreceptor cells decreases, leading to decrease in ADH secretion. So when the osmolarity comes back to normal, the osmoreceptor cells decrease the secretions of the ADH. So this is called as a negative feedback. Have a look at this image here to understand what is this negative feedback here. See here. This is an individual person where the response is initiated. How this response is initiated? That is by sweating. Because of workout, there is a hemoconcentration, that is, in other words, the osmolarity of the blood has increased. This sends a signal to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is stimulated, which stimulates the posterior pituitary gland to release or secrete the ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Now, when the antidiuretic hormone is secreted, reabsorption of water takes place, and from more water is reabsorbed in the plasma. So what happens is the plasma volume increases, water increases, and your urine is concentrated and sent to the urinary bladder. Why we are retaining water? Because of this workout and sweating, there is already water loss. So to prevent the further water loss of water, this mechanism is triggered, and once the blood plasma volume is normal, then what happens is the secretion of ADH is stopped. So this is called as negative feedback. In case of hemorrhage or severe dehydration too, osmoreceptors stimulate the antidiuretic secretion. The ADH is important in regulating water balance through the kidney. So here you can see how this ADH hormone is working to maintain the water balance. Here you can see that when the blood osmotic pressure increases, the hypothalamus is doing two works. It is sending the signal to the pituitary gland to release the ADH, and it is also giving a thirst response, because of which we drink water, which will reduce the blood osmotic pressure. And at the same time, this ADH that is secreted, it allows the reabsorption of water to prevent any further dehydration. So this is how it helps in maintaining the balance and regulating the water balance in the body. Now, in absence of ADH, diuresis, that is dilution of urine, takes place, and the person tends to excrete large amounts of dilute urine. This condition is called as diabetes insipidus. Another regulatory mechanism is RAS, which is called as the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system by the juxtaglomerular apparatus, that is JGA. So let's have a look at this RAS mechanism now. Students, whenever blood supply due to change in blood pressure or blood volume to the efferent arteriole decreases due to low blood pressure or dehydrations, the JGA cells release renin. Renin converts angiotensinogen secreted by the hepatocytes in the liver to angiotensin 1. Angiotensin converting enzymes further modifies angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, the active form of the hormone. To understand this, have a look at this image here. This is your renin-angiotensin system. So when there is drop in blood pressure or drop in fluid volumes, the kidney releases renin. So renin is released from the kidney, and we have angiotensinogen, which is released from the hepatocytes, that is the cells of the liver. Now renin acts on angiotensinogen to form angiotensin 1. Now further, we have the angiotensin converting enzymes, now which is called as ACE, which is released from the lungs. This converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. And due to this conversion, the angiotensin 2 that is formed has multiple functions. You can see here it is highlighted. This angiotensin 2 acts directly on the blood vessels, stimulating vasoconstriction, that is narrowing of the blood vessels. Then you have this angiotensin also acts on the adrenal gland to stimulate release of aldosterone. So what this aldosterone does? This aldosterone acts directly on the kidney and stimulates reabsorption of salt, that is NaCl, and water. So angiotensin 2 has triple functions. It constricts the arterioles in the kidney, thereby reducing blood flow and increasing blood pressure. So this phenomenon is happening here. Then it stimulates the PCT cells to enhance reabsorption of sodium, chloride, and water. So here it is directly stimulating the PCT. And the third one, it stimulates the adrenal cortex to release another hormone called as aldosterone that stimulates the DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and the collecting ducts to absorb more sodium and water, thereby increasing blood volume and pressure. So this is the process that we are seeing here in this image, that is, it is triggering the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone, and then aldosterone further stimulates the reabsorption of the salt and water, and this increases the blood volume and pressure. Students, a very frequent question arises that would only ADH or only RAS be sufficient for homeostasis? The answer to it is both ADH and RAS are essential. Only ADH can lower blood sodium concentrations by ways of water reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct, whereas RAS stimulates sodium reabsorption, thus maintaining osmolarity of the body fluids. So one is helping in lowering the concentration, and the other is helping in reabsorption of sodium. So action of ADH and RAS leads to increase in the blood volume and osmolarity. A large increase in blood volume and pressure stimulates atrial walls to produce atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP. Now this ANP inhibits sodium and chloride reabsorption from the collecting ducts, inhibits release of renin, reduces aldosterone and ADH release too. This leads to a condition called as natriuresis, that is increased excretion of sodium in the urine, and diuresis, that is excretion of diluted urine. So both these systems are essential for maintaining homeostasis and regulating the concentration of the body fluids. Additional role of kidney. Now, apart from its major role in the process of excretion and osmoregulations, kidneys participate in synthesis of calcitrol, the active form of vitamin D, which is needed for absorption of dietary calcium. Deficiency of calcitrol can lead to brittle bones. Thank you, students, for participating in this lecture. See you soon again with the next topic. Till then, take care, be safe, and keep learning.